Welcome to the Power of Collaboration, this event tonight that we are putting together, and thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to give the microphone to Loriza, who is a co-host and organizer with myself of this event, and we're going to start this very soon.
Hey, thank you guys. Thank you guys so much for being here. We're really excited to host this panel. We chose to do the power of collaboration because it's Fashion Week and there's so many parts that go into creating a fashion brand. There's models, photographers, makeup artists, all these people that don't necessarily get, highlighted. But we wanted to collaborate with designers from Austin, Texas, San Antonio, Texas, LA, and New York. So we hope that you enjoy the showcase, but we definitely just want to discuss, what the power of collaboration can really create in the fashion industry. Thank you.
All right, so in order to start, we did a little bit of research, and we start from seeing what is the definition of a collaboration, right? And looking at the definition of a collaboration, according to Wikipedia, is the action of working with someone to produce or create something. So one of the things that I actually was really surprised about when I read about this definition is that it's not only about working with someone, it's also about creating something, right? About creating something as part of this collaboration. I think that's what makes a collaboration interesting. And that's what we all hear, that's why we create these type of events, because we think that this could be the starting point of collaborations between you, the brands that are here, the creators that are here, the technologies that are here too. And that's why we put this together. So in order to start, I would like to first of you guys to know everybody in the panel, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves so you know who they are, and if you want to collaborate with them, so you know already all of the companies and all the persons that are going to be here. I'm going to start with you guys.
Thanks everyone. My name is Cosimo Corsini. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Dropshop. So what's Dropshop? Dropshop essentially enables retailers to offer the most convenient post-purchase experience. So what that means is, explained simply, is we take care of everything that happens while a customer is checking out from an e-commerce, right? So that means that we handle delivery, so 2-hour unscheduled delivery. We handle returns, so what that means is we will come to your doorstep, pick up the item for you, return it in store. Then the whole tech stack, of course, which is real-time tracking, customer support. We take care of package insurance, AI-powered product recommendation services, data management, and many other features that we will be launching soon. That's me.
Hi, I'm Natalia. I'm a designer. My rack of clothes is the all black one right over there. Pretty easy to spot, super colorful. Clearly I love color. Yeah, I'm a made-to-order brand, so I quite literally make everything myself. Everything on that rack was made by me. I don't usually have inventory, but made a little, special moment here to have that. And I'm also a content creator, so on top of making everything, I showcase all the behind the scenes of my business on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, pretty much anywhere that you can find content, I'm probably on there. So that's me.
And I'm Loriza. I probably have met some of you. I tried to introduce myself. But my name is Loriza, and I'm the founder of Refine. We are a fashion hub based out of Austin, Texas, and we focus on the future of fashion. So to us, that means sustainability, innovative brands and designers, and the community aspect. So a lot of what we do is we're a platform to highlight brands like the ones you see here today, giving them an opportunity to meet with the community. So really happy to have you here.
And I am Daniel. I am the CEO of Boulder. What we have is basically an e-commerce solution for brands so they can connect with content creators, for them to produce content directly for the brand, where this content, actually the videos for the content creator, instead of living in social media, they live directly on the website of the brand. And we have a whole process in order to put that together, from all the way from connecting and doing the collaboration, and then putting the videos on the e-commerce brand directly using Shopify and other technologies as well. Speaking about collaborations, we are here because actually Dropshop, they already work with Notstand in New York. They're already collaborating with each other, and Dropshop and Boulder, my company, we did together a program here in New York as well. And since we met, we were looking for a location, and then we said, okay, let's look for a location. And then one of their clients, Notstand in New York, who is here, they actually facilitate this space to put together this event. Loriza and I have been doing these events for 2 years already, or 3, I forget, 2 years already. So we're done South by Southwest. This is the second time we're doing New York Fashion Week as well. So again, it's all about collaboration, and Natalia has been working with us as well in previous events. So that's why we're all here. Hopefully you guys get to meet us as well, and we can do collaborations in the future as well. So speaking about collaborations, this is a question for the 3 of you, and you guys can have each one your own answer. So what does collaboration mean for each one of you, and how do you incorporate that in your craft? We'll start with Loriza.
I think collaboration for us means community, because in the community we're able to really meet everyone that's involved with designing a brand, from the designer, the photographers, the makeup artists, etc. We have been able to collaborate with so many people in our community. So I think for us, collaboration is primarily community, and what we can do with meeting the community members of other brands and other photographers, and how it all kind of comes full circle to be able to continue to do partnerships with each other. So I think that's what it means to me.
Yeah, I would say roughly the same thing. I think as a designer, it can get tricky because I collaborate with other designers all the time, which I think traditionally people would think is like very weird, and like you shouldn't collaborate with your competition, and like that's whatever. But to me, I'm like, I literally hosted a show on Saturday with 6 other designers, some of which are literally here today because they ended up being my friends. And it creates community. But I also just think in the sustainable fashion space, if we don't collaborate and if we don't uplift each other up, like none of us are gonna succeed. Like if they succeed, I succeed, because we want sustainable fashion to be mainstream and to be like a good thing. So I think collaboration to me just means like we all get to grow together, and it doesn't have to be like your thing or my thing. It's us together, we're working together, making the most of it and making the world a better place, hopefully. So.
Yeah, I think I agree with both those points, so nice. I guess on the tech side, collaboration for us is working with someone that can create value. I think there are a few steps that we look into before collaborating with someone, and that is, first of all, I think, what is the value and what are the main pain points that we found that can be expressed and that we can solve. Second of all, is it financially sustainable and is it scalable? And third, is there a specific goal in mind? So for example, at Dropshop, our goal is to enhance the customer experience and during checkout, right? So I think those are some of the main points that we're looking into before partnering or collaborating with someone.
Awesome. Natalia, let's speak about your side of the creator side, okay? So when you work as a content creator and you collaborate with brands, which is probably the case of some of the creators that are here, and the brands too that are collaborating with creators too, how do you describe what is an ideal collaboration for you from the perspective of a creator? And then you can answer also from the perspective of a brand, because you play in both sides.
It's really interesting to be on both sides of it, because when you're on the creator side, obviously you're like, I think you have to look at what businesses you're collaborating with and making sure they align. I'm super picky with who I work with, so I truly don't work with that many because I want to make sure they're ethical, sustainable, like they have all the same values that I do, and unfortunately that's just not a lot of companies nowadays. So I'm very particular about that, but also I want to work with companies that value creators. Because I think from an outsider perspective, sometimes the creator space seems like a really easy job and like something that's like so silly and fun to just make content, but it takes so much time, there's so much editing. I mean, even just like with fashion, like you have to look good, you have to do your hair, you have to put like makeup on, like if you're having a bad hair day, like that's the worst day ever, and then it takes you like 3 different tries to try to get something good. It's just a lot more work than I think the average person realizes it is, so I like to work with brands that also value what's behind it. And I think sometimes it can be hard because if you're working with small brands, they don't have a big budget, but you still want to make sure that you're being valued. So trying to find that fine line, because as a brand, I don't have a big budget to pay creators either. So like, I understand that there's like a weird fine line between needing to get paid, also wanting to just like support brands, but like you have to support yourself. And I think you just have to really be really self-aware of like what's the collaboration and what's going to benefit you, how it's going to benefit them, and truly try to make it like good for both of you. But yeah, I think when it comes to just collaborating with businesses, creators, it's just about like really aligning on values and making sure that it makes sense and not just like taking the opportunity because it comes, like making sure it really makes sense for you and your personal like brand and business as well.
Yeah, so essentially what we've seen is that brands spend a lot of time focusing a lot on their product, the product that they're selling, of course their online shop, their brick and mortar if they have one, and sometimes they undermine, you know, some of the other value points within the experience of shopping, which is what happens during checkout, which is where, of course, a lot of most of the churn rate happens. And then what happens, of course, after checkout, right? So the post-purchase experience. And so that's where we step in, right? Dropshop essentially steps in when a customer has checked out from the e-commerce. And our goal there to partner with the brand is to increase conversion. So by increased conversion, we allow them to have 2-hour and instant delivery. We want to improve retention. By improving retention, we do that through a personalized experience for the brands. We only use sustainable measures of logistics, so minimize carbon footprint, and then we diminish operational cost by owning the last mile, essentially.
Okay. Loriza, so I'll be completely honest, so Loriza was the one who came up with the concept of the power of collaboration today. So collaboration is part of your DNA in Refine, and I've seen how you using collaboration has evolved your brand into a different level. So can you speak a little bit about that?
Definitely. In the very beginning, we were something very different. We were focused on having this sustainability marketplace online. And while it was super awesome to be able to connect with so many fashion brands and having them like on an e-commerce site and trying to push sales, it just didn't feel authentic to me as a person, and it didn't feel like it was really making an impact the way that I wanted it to. So we went from being a marketplace to doing in-person events. The first event we ever did was actually South by Southwest. Had no idea how to plan an event, but we went for it, and we had like 1,500 people come, and we realized, okay, like people want to see more conversation around just like the fashion industry in general. So we definitely dove into our strength, which is community and collaboration. And now today, you know, it's just really cool to be able to partner with so many brands. Like, I think Breakfast Friends, like I've never met her until today actually. And it's just really cool to see like the evolution of these collaborations. Natalia, I think I've met you twice, but we've known each other for years. So all of these like conversations have led me to so many other people, and being able to see that, I firsthand can see like events like this lead to bigger and bigger events or bigger and bigger partnerships. So that's really our driving factor at this point, is keep meeting new people, keep creating network and conversation for others, especially for the brands, because a lot of these brands, they don't have the means to just pop up on their own during New York Fashion Week. It's pretty pricey. But you know, we're creating these opportunities of collaboration so that you guys can meet them. And I think that's the best way to move the needle and push sustainability and like just emerging designers in general. So I'm sure that you guys have met someone new today, and if you haven't, you should. But yeah, it's definitely evolved from marketplace to in-person to strictly being a community-oriented platform.
Awesome. I forgot something, by the way, that we always do in our panels, is that if anyone wants to say something at some point or want to be part of this conversation, please just raise your hand. I don't want this to be just us telling you guys what we know, and especially if we're speaking about collaboration, we will be lying if we're only gonna be ourselves speaking here. So really, if someone has an idea or think about something along the questions that I'm asking, just raise your hand and I'll bring you the microphone, okay? So, when I mentioned the concept of collaboration, and we realized that collaborations means also to create something, right? And this is a question for the three of you guys. If when we collaborate, we're looking to create something. Can you guys elaborate in each of your business? What are you looking to create when you collaborate?
What are we looking to create when we collaborate? Well, I think collaboration and creation kind of goes hand in hand, right? I mean, I think the first step is to understand, again, as I was mentioning earlier, the pain points, right? And what pain points are you trying to solve? And then from that pain point, then you can start building upon, what are the value-added features that you can, add to that business, right? So, like in our case, we really analyze what are the main pain points that the brands are expressing, and then we start building upon that. That's how we came up with the last mile delivery. That's how we came up with returns and all the beautiful features that we're launching. So I think it's really understanding the root cause and then expanding from there, and just really building based off of what customers or brands are telling you.
I would say for me, when I collaborate with other designers, I'm just looking to create community and looking to expand kind of the sustainable fashion space a lot. So many of them are literally right here in front of me because they ended up just being such close friends afterwards, even though we literally do the same exact thing and they should be quote unquote competition, whatever. But at the end of the day, I think when we all bring together all of our audiences and we realize at the event I hosted on Saturday, I have a girl that was wearing a dress that I made, but I know that she also follows one of my friends, Yana and Veronica, and she knows all of us because we all post each other all the time and we collaborate all the time, that we've become this little group that everybody knows us as, which I really, really love because I think there's more power in numbers. So the more that we collaborate with each other, the more opportunities that are going to come to all of us. So I think for me, it's about creating community and opportunity and just hoping that eventually we meet the right people and find ourselves in the right spaces.
I think that what we look for is synchronicity. I like to have conversations with as many people as possible because I think there's a way to find alignment in creative ways. I think my number one question I get from people in the DMs, they're how'd you come up with this concept for an event? Or how did you put this one together? Where did this come from? But it truly is in finding synchronicity. I could partner with a drink brand and find something in common with them and do a twisted concept event around it. I think there's just so many ways to include anything from drinks to food to designers, and all of us collaborate. For an example, we partnered with Allbirds and we did, for the holidays, we were okay, what can we do with Allbirds? They're a sneaker brand. How is that, they are sustainable. And we were okay, it's the holidays, we're gonna do how to build your own sustainable charcuterie board. Random, but it brought in so many people that were interested in sustainability, were interested in the brands that we had, but it was around food. So to me, it's all about synchronicity and finding okay, what's the connection between me and this brand, or me and this person? And I think that's what makes the experiences so fun and unique.
Yeah, in our case in Boulder, actually, I'm very aligned with what you're saying, Loriza. I think in our case, when we connect creators and brands with the purpose of putting the videos on their brand website, we always look to align values and to align exactly that the brand is what the brand is looking for, because we don't want to really just do a forced collaboration. We also work with a lot of creators that are very picky with the brands that they're working with, and if you guys are creators here, really be picky with the brands that you're gonna be working with, because you shouldn't be working with all the brands around just because you wanna post something. I think it needs to be meaningful, it needs to be something behind it in order for a collaboration to work with a brand. So we all know that the economy, you know, that we are almost living a recession, and I wanna kind of like, you know, turn this into a little bit of reality. You know, we can all be collaborating on everything, but we need to deal with bills and, you know, with a lot of stuff every day. And I kind of want to touch base on that specifically with you, because I think your technology touches a lot of the, I mean, it's basically what you guys are doing is generate a new revenue channel for a lot of brands that they do not necessarily know that they can have it. So how do you think your technology could impact a brand and can probably create new sources of revenue or touches their P&L?
Yeah, so new sources of revenue. So by the way, we actually pivoted not too long ago. We actually started off as a marketplace that connected fashion, brick and mortar stores to the consumer, kind of like a DoorDash for fashion. We then ended up pivoting towards B2B, thanks to actually a lot of the partnerships that we had with some of our brands, and they kind of led us towards like understanding what the real true value, where it stood, and that's, I guess, you know, very important in, you know, understanding how that collaboration worked and how and how did that pivot come to be. So now essentially, you know, what we are looking into is, you know, we realize that, you know, brands. Essentially, brands are, sorry, I'm losing train of thoughts. Brands are, sorry, give me 2 seconds.
It's the door.
It's the door, yes. Yeah, so sorry, we're talking about the economy. There's a very fierce market out there, right? And essentially, you know, especially for small brands, they have to spend a lot of time and efforts, and they have a lot of challenges essentially, right? And some of those challenges are understanding product market fits. Is there the right pain points that they're facing? They have to understand what their CAC strategy is, their marketing strategy. They have a lot of competitors that they have to face. And so with all of this, you know, we then want to become their partner, not only for logistics, but just a general partner where we can essentially you know, help them grow their business in any which way. So collaborate and build with them based off of what their essential needs are. And yeah, you know, that's, you know, essentially kind of like what we're building. You know, we're making it as easy as possible to integrate with us. So essentially with just a click of one button, within, you know, less than 2 minutes, a brand can integrate with us, where you know, just a few years ago, it was just really hard to, you know, partner with a technology company. It would take, you know, a lot of time and effort to do that. Yeah, that's essentially where we're at today.
Yeah, I guess I'm gonna move to you, Loriza, because I remember when we were doing the research to start doing this event, I remember one post that you did on your stories, that actually you put that you were actually sad because a lot of you were looking at the database of brands that we work in previous years, and you realized that a lot of them were out of business, right? So my question to you is, and I'm sure there's a lot of new brands here or people that have ideas and want to come up with new you know, collections or brands or designs. So from your perspective, since you put together these type of events, how do you think you can help brands like them so they can not go out of business?
Yeah, what he's talking about is, I started Refine about 3 years ago, and I interviewed like 500 brands during the pandemic, because like what else do you do? That's when I met everyone. And then we did kind of like a deep dive of like, okay, how many of these brands are still in business? And like maybe 120 were still in business. And these are all sustainable, small, you know, emerging designers that didn't make it. I mean, obviously it's really hard to sustain a fashion brand. It's hard to get your customers and to keep your CAC low. Like, it's really hard to get out there. So I think that doing these in-person experiences really, really helps, you know, Natalia or anyone here that's popped up meet their customer in real life. I think, you know, having a strong Instagram obviously is great, but getting to meet an actual designer I think really moves the needle. Like, anybody can shop online, but how often do you get to meet the real designers? That's very rare. So I think that's how we're gonna make it. I think if you think you're a designer that's gonna make it on your own in this economy, not a chance. Like, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to collaborate with someone to, you know, get involved in doing events, host events with other designers, like do whatever you can to get people in the door. The thing that I always tell brands, like, if you want to host an event is like, 1, figure out how to make an exciting event. 2, figure out how to keep them in the door. And 3, figure out a way to reach them after, because that's all we really have. Your email list. Get the emails too. But yeah, I think that's the only way to really survive as a fashion designer or an emerging designer is like, you have to be really realistic of like, how am I actually gonna meet my customer? You can't just meet them on social. I think it's so important to be able to show your designs or whatever you're showcasing in real life, in real time, getting feedback so that you can figure out what is it that people really want. Like, do they want leather bags? Do they want satin bags? Like, I don't know, like figure out what they actually want and then move forward. I don't think you can just put something out and expect people to come buy it anymore. Like, I just don't think it works that way, unfortunately. But, you know, that's why we want to give brands an opportunity to meet you all in person, and I think that's what's gonna keep it going.
You have something to add on this part?
I could say a lot.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah, since we're talking about brands, I will say it has been a hard few years. I think a lot of what Loriza said is so true. So many brands I've seen to like just go out of business that were like friends of mine or mutuals of mine on socials, and it's really sad to see because there's so many incredibly talented designers that I've seen just like leave that and do something else because it's just so hard to pay the bills. And I live in LA by myself, so it is hard to pay the bills, let me tell you. But I think what I've learned that works for me is just like finding new ways to pivot. So like in 2020 is when I started, and it was like when everybody was online, TikTok, it was so easy to go viral, and luckily like I did, I was one of the lucky ones. So during that year, I would be selling out my collections in like 5 minutes. It was like mass chaos, and it happened with a lot of my friends as well. And so we got so used to like putting out a collection, and then it was like 5 minutes and everything sold, and you'd be like booked and busy for so long. And then slowly throughout like 2021 and everything started opening up, people were on their phones a little bit less, collections started selling out in like 20 minutes, and then it was 30, and then it was an hour, and then it was days. And everything just slowed down so much, and it was such a stressful time because I got so used to being so like successful. And then I moved out on my own, and then all of a sudden like money wasn't coming in anymore, and I was like, I just moved out on my own, like how am I gonna pay the bills? So you start finding ways to pivot, and I think for me, one of those has been events, like Loriza said. As soon as the world kind of opened up again, I was like, you know what, people want connection. They might not be spending their money on clothes right now because that seems like irrelevant, but they will spend their money to go like meet people and like hang out and be in a space with community because we were like deprived of that for so long. And even myself, like I would rather spend on like an experience versus clothing, even as a designer. Like I also do that. So I've definitely pivoted that way. I've also pivoted to like selling sewing patterns because that's a little bit more accessible to the average consumer than maybe a piece of my clothing because I know it's expensive to buy sustainable fashion. So trying to find little ways to just like pivot and make it work for the time because the economy is a little rough. So, you know, you gotta make it work somehow. I think you just can't be too zeroed in on one idea and just be open to like changing and pivoting and making it work. Because yeah, the world kind of just rocks you a little bit sometimes.
Yeah, I think pivoting is definitely the right word. I think probably you heard the four of us have pivoted how many times in 3 years? I mean, I didn't even know you pivot already. So when I asked you the question, and Loriza, I've seen you evolve as well too, and Natalia too. We even when we started Boulder, we were called Oh Yeah before. We kind of like the name, but we have to change it for several reasons. But anyway, we also pivoted. So in the last 3 years, we're having different names, different value propositions, and you're always testing to see what is really resonating with your customers. And I think it's part of the evolution, regardless the economy. So I ran out of all my questions now, luckily. So we're gonna be able to mingle again. So, but if anyone has any questions, okay, what's your name?
I'm Mariana. Hi, I'm Mariana LYS. I'm a plus size model from Tokyo. Thank you very much for this event. So I have questions for all of you. I'm sure right now, I'm sure all of you have such rich experience in collaborating with so many different organizations, individuals. But I'm sure in the beginning, you must have had trial and error. Do you have any advice for people attending here tonight who are just trying to explore how to collaborate and create synergies with other brands or individuals?
Who wants to start?
I really like that question because in the beginning we were just a marketplace, but now we're collaborating with photographers and models and doing creative shoots with just creatives in local Austin, and now we want to come to New York and do the same thing. And I will say, in the beginning, you get a lot of no's. Like, I've been told no like 7 million times. But I'm okay with it because the ones that have said yes have been the perfect partnerships. And I think any advice that I would give to anyone in general is like get in rooms like this and actually really network and figure out ways to ask them how you can collaborate on anything. If there's a photographer in the room, is there a photographer in the room? I'm like, okay, so you guys need to connect. Is there a stylist in the room? Okay, you guys should do a creative shoot and you guys should collab on that because that's gonna give you more exposure and more opportunities for all three of you. And throw in a makeup artist too, But I would say just get out there and ask people to do stuff together. People are really inclined to do and create more than you would think.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I would, to add on to that, I definitely DM people all the time. Like, I've DM'd so many people. So many people don't answer, let's be honest, but the right ones do eventually, or sometimes it's just about, like, commenting on people's stuff, like, authentically commenting on people's stuff, like, I love your work, whatever. I think that's probably how I connected with most of my designer friends, it's just, like, I commented on their stuff, eventually they saw my stuff, and it's just, like, becomes this mutual connection. I think showing up authentically is also really important. Obviously, people can sense when you're just trying to get something out of someone, if you're trying to, like, hey, let's collaborate, but like, I know it's actually just gonna benefit me, like, that doesn't come off right, and people DM me like that sometimes, and I'm like, that's not the right vibe. So I think you do have to show up authentically and like really ask yourself, like, how is this gonna benefit both of us? Because I think it's good, it has to be important to, be good for both sides. And yeah, just ask people, DM, don't be shy. You'll get a million no's, but every once in a while you'll get a yes, and it's a good one.
Yeah, I agree with that. We message probably thousands of brands. I mean, we're partnering with brands, right? So it's, especially as a no one, it's really hard to partner with your first brands. So I'd say, your first partnerships, keep them very close. And if you keep them very close, they'll go the extra mile for you. And I think, they'll also help you with, your next partnerships. And then it's kind of like a snowball effect, right? So, I mean, the more partnerships you bring on, then the more they can recommend, and then the more, more partnerships you'll bring on. And I think, your first partners, just remember them and be nice to them, because I think if you are, they probably will, help you skyrocket.
Thank you so much, such great advice.
Yeah, and I the other thing I like to add there is that don't be afraid to have conversations with anyone, like in terms of, like, I think a collaboration start with a conversation and start from an honest place. And I don't think you need to be perfect. You don't need to have like the perfect product, the perfect craft. I think the more that you talk with people, the more you refine what you're doing too, which is really important, because I think at the end of the day, we're not creating something just for ourselves. Yes, we are a little selfish and we like what we're doing, but some other people need to like it too. So, and if we don't share with other people even the process of how we are putting that together, I think that's the fastest way to do it. I remember back in the days when I was working with ad agencies, and every time you have to make a decision for a video or for a creative, 5 people need to approve the color of a very specific thing, and then the 5 of them will have different colors that they want to add, and then you get into this discussion for weeks and no one will ever decide, and then you're like, okay, what do we do now? So the beauty of the internet now and the beauty of digital now is that you don't need to do that. You can go and ask what you're doing, and you can share your process, and you can get instant feedback, and then get the things better. And I think that's probably also a big part of how can you work in this process of building something and creating something from scratch at an early stage. I think even though I have a product and I have clients, I still consider myself early stage. I don't know about you guys. I mean, we're still pivoting, and even though we're here speaking, we still consider ourselves that we are. I mean, every time I talk to Loriza, we're both doing different things. So it's like it's part of the world today. I think it is what it is. Any other questions? Go.
I don't know if you guys can answer this, but have you guys ever experienced like imposter syndrome, or just kind of breaking faces? Okay. Okay. So imposter syndrome, or even just like knowing how to, put yourself out there, even in a social setting like this, to market yourself, like your pitch, like how do you perfect it? Because I think that sometimes I'm like, I do blah, 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 and I just go on, I'm like, I don't even know if you got anything from what I just said. So how do you, get past that?
Can I ask you, why don't you practice your pitch now?
Damn it! Okay, my name is Carissa. I'm from Toronto. Hey. And y'all listen to Drake. We're responsible for him now. I'm a business consultant. I've been working in fashion for the past 14 years. Moved to New York a couple of years ago, and just looking to kind of meet people, make connections, specifically with brands that are looking for any type of support they may need, and kind of overcoming any bottlenecks in their business.
How was the pitch? I think you already answered the question yourself. There you go. I think that's the best way to do it. Yeah, you just did it. There you go. You guys want to add something, or?
Sure. Just to give you something, I guess. Because I feel imposter syndrome all the time. I'm feeling it right now. I'm always the youngest in the room. I'm 23, about to be 24. So I'm literally always the youngest in the room, which gives me immediate imposter syndrome. So I'm always people that are much older than me that I assume to be much wiser than me. Like Loriza, I'm like, she's so much older and wiser. I'm like, I look up to her so much. I'm like, wow, you're doing so much. I'm like, So I'm always looking up. Like, I started my business when I was 20, and I literally didn't know anything. I still really don't know anything. But I think the more I talk to people that own businesses or like whatever they're doing, no one knows what they're doing. I feel like anytime I talk to literally anybody, they're like, oh yeah, we're just figuring it out as we go. Like, we're just vibing, like we're just getting through it. So I think there's a lot of comfort in like just being honest with people, and just being like, you know what, listen, I don't actually really know what's going on, I'm just figuring it out. Most people will feel the same way, and I feel like that like eases it for me, because I think we all feel imposter syndrome so much all the time.
I do want to add one thing. The only thing I will add is don't feel like you have to impress anyone.
That's what I feel. Like New York is so intimidating.
No, like I don't care if I feel like just be yourself, because if you try to impress every single person, you're not for everybody, and that's okay. So I've just completely stopped trying to impress people, and I'm like, if you're my people, you're my people, and if you're not, you find your people, and so on.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm gonna leave one more question here, and then if you guys want, we can all keep having a conversation here. I don't wanna extend this that much, because I want you guys also to keep drinking, listen to music, and keep going this event. So I'm gonna leave you one more.
Yeah, I just want to. It's kind of a wild question, but in the hip hop game, everyone gets paid. So in the fashion art world, how do you manage people's expectations of getting paid? Is it TFP? Is it designer clothing? Is it concert tickets to Travis Scott's? How do you manage these things?
Yes, tickets to Travis Scott, please. No, but I I experience this a lot because we're small and we do fashion shows actually in Austin, and we do one for South by Southwest every year. And it's impossible as a small brand to be able to pay people, but half the time these models just want the experience and the exposure. And I know like people like are like, oh, pay your people, but some like we're small, we literally can't. But every single time we've partnered with like a model or a photographer or something, it's led them to paid work. So I think it always works out. Like I think collaborating with the right people, you'll end up, you know, finding something beyond that one opportunity.
Yeah, I do shows all the time too, and obviously cannot afford to pay every single model, makeup artist. Like I hope one day I can. But like I love to work with like first-time models, first-time photographers, people who are like scared to get into big spaces, because like starting small is like kind of safe, and we're all kind of on the same page. So I feel like they're always willing to, and I also think there's like a huge difference between like doing some sort of collaborative thing where it's like I feel like I'm collaborating with these models, makeup artists, photographers, versus like exploiting people for free work. You know, I think there's a very big difference between like, you know, treating somebody as like an assistant and being like, go do this for me, go do that, treating them really poorly, versus like giving them the space to like, you know, become a model, become a photographer, to be a team player on it. And I think every show I do, I try to like really have a really fun vibe for everybody and make sure everybody's enjoying themselves. And yeah, it always leads them to different things. And like I've ended up working with a lot of photographers after shows and like being able to pay them for shoots and things like that. But yeah, and even as a designer, I've done a lot of paid, like unpaid work. Like I've made custom orders for people like for free, just for like exposure and pictures and whatever. So I'm like, you gotta play it both ways. You can't always expect to be paid, and like that's fine, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we're a tech company, so it's a little different. But, so we do have to pay, you know, engineers unfortunately aren't like, you know, so, but we did have one photo shoot, and I will say, it was interesting. We paid some, not everyone, because we also leveraged our network, I guess. We brought in friends as well, and you know, we are an early stage startup at the end of the day, and we just have to really be mindful about, you know, what we're spending, and you know, just use as much of our network and friends and, you know, people that we have around us that can help us get to the next step, I guess.
Yeah. In our case, we work with creators and brands. For creators, I think since we are very focused on UGC and we're trying to get people into do more content and video content directly for brands, there's a lot of creators today that are only posting on social media and they're not really necessarily paying attention to the UGC space. And when we are going in that direction, sometimes, in very rare exceptions, we ask them, hey, why don't you do a collaboration for free so you get a taste of how this is? And then from there, we always make sure to get paid, for them to get paid at least a minimum fee, but it's something that we try to do as a company because we don't want to do a collaboration, especially with a brand that the brand is benefiting and they're driving conversions and getting more sales, and then the creator's not getting paid. So that's, in our case, what we do. So guys, thank you very much everybody for coming here. Thank you for listening to us, and feel free to come here. This is not the end of the event, so we're gonna be here hanging out for a little bit. Make sure to meet all the brands here, and thank you very much. Have a good evening.